Hello Internet, this is Kawa. Welcome back to Kawa Minds. This is my first time back since, well, this is my first time recording, I should say, since I got back to New York. I did log on here briefly, but I did not, do much, but, in terms of actual recording. Seems like things are just as, you know, I left them. No huge changes to report in any direction. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have anything terribly significant to say, sadly. My vacation was pretty fun, less relaxing than I would have liked, but I could deal with that. I was, as I said, with my future in-laws, so my partner, their siblings, and parents for about 2 weeks, and including Christmas and New Year. And it was nice. I haven't seen them in a long time, and the extended family, I mean, and a lot, you know, of stuff happened, but I don't know how much of it I want to talk about. You know, just keeping some sort of shift, you know, some sort of break between the real world and my video gaming world. It's probably the healthiest option. At any rate, I'm just wandering around here a bit. Oh yes, there is something I wanted to talk about, and I want to do something mindless while I talk about it. So let's grab some tree saplings. Let's go birch, because I think we'll need some birch wood for the other build. Let's grab some bone meal, get outside, and start growing trees while I chat a bit. So the last Kawa Minds video I released before I left was my Project for Awesome video. And I promised, well, there was one other where I built up the fortress, the new place I've been, and grabbed stuff from that fortress. But in terms of so yeah, not exactly the last Kawa Minds, but one recent Kawa Minds, I should say, was me actually on Nerdcrafteria, no, not here, talking about prep for prep, which I did want to talk about in more detail. Project for Awesome has long passed, obviously, and I am getting a lot of errors. Hold on. Video settings. Let's crank this down to normal, see if that helps. It should. Yeah, that's a lot better. Oh, still getting flashes. Let's see. Will default chunk loading help, or will it make it worse? It's a problem I've been having mostly with 1.4.6. It hasn't been happening nearly as much in other versions of Minecraft or Optifine. I'm an Optifine user mostly because of the mostly for high definition textures, but also because there's a lot of other great customization in it. I can have, for example, rain particles to minimal, but torch particles and other particles to high, so I don't have that I can basically have rain sounds off without affecting anything or having to manually change anything, which I really like. But anyway, this is not a discussion of mods. This is a discussion of prep for prep. So I talked about prep for prep, and Project for Awesome is long past by now. They raised an insane amount of money, and they're doing some really excellent things with that money, which they haven't entirely released yet, partially because they're trying to decide if they're going to give to more charities than they initially announced. So I know almost certainly that Prep for Prep didn't make it. I was the only person who made a video, and it wasn't exactly the most compelling video by a long shot. It was my first time making a video under like half an hour long, so I didn't know how to speak efficiently in that time frame. But that's okay. That's perfectly reasonable. And I am sure that the Nerdcrafteria community has Nerdfighteria community, I should say, because there's more to Nerdfighters than the Minecraft server, obviously. Then I know the Nerdfighteria community chose well, regardless of what it was. They're an absolutely fantastic bunch of people who I learned a lot about by doing P4A. I am really, really grateful to them for it, and it was pretty fantastic. It was a great time. Let's fix this water issue, shall we? I think it's like down here, here. Yep, that did it. And I sunk to the bottom. See? Water fixed. And as Irishan fell in their hole. I'm gonna try very hard not to consider that something dirty. Anyway, so yeah, I talked about prep, and I was pretty clumsy about it, and I didn't get to talk in much detail about who they are and what they do. Partially because it's actually really complicated, and partially because I'm just not all that great at this video thing yet. But regardless of both of those facts, this video will serve as a more in-depth guide to what it is and what my experiences were. So, as I mentioned in the video, the goal for prep is a little complicated. They want to create what they call a more diverse set of leaders in the world. Now that can mean a lot of things. That can mean, you know, people of different orientations, or people of different backgrounds, or different skills. But prep was started in the 70s, so the focus was pretty much entirely on race and racial inequality and fixing the messed upness that is racial relations. And the big way that happened was basically by having really smart but otherwise not very privileged kids enter schools where they would be actually challenged and actually get to mold themselves into kinds of leaders they could really be given the resources. And it's, you know, it sounds like such an odd thing. I mean, these kids are already smart. Why do you need to give them more than what they have? They'll be successful at school anyway because they're smart and they're driven, and their parents support a good education and all of these things. So why, you know, why not help kids who can't help themselves? Why not, you know, do something else? And the truth is, like, the world is more complicated than that. And partially because of the things that prep has done explicitly or implicitly over the years. It wasn't always so simple for someone who was smart but in a less fortunate situation to get the resources that they could use. And these worlds are so massively different that there's really no comparison. And that's something that's a little hard to explain, because to everyone it seems like school is school. There are good schools and there are bad schools, but, you know, what difference could it really make? It's like night and day. And a lot of these schools are very small and very particular about who they put in them, and very protective of their individual communities. And opening them up to people who are even a little different from them, but who could succeed given the opportunity, is a big deal. So that's kind of why this organization exists and continues to exist. We've made a lot of changes since then. I mean, in the 70s, a non-white president would have been unheard of. A, you know, non-white, non-male, you know, justice in the Supreme Court would have been unheard of. You know, there's so many things and there's so many reasons why, you know, all of this would have been considered absurd at one point. You know, a non-white and non-male astronaut would have been considered weird. People in science, you know, non-whites in significant positions in science and engineering. The world has changed a lot racially since the 70s, and it's partially because at the highest levels, at the highest echelons of power, people have started realizing, hey, these people aren't freaks, they're not horrible, they're just people who happen to come from something that isn't the same as me. And that's good, and that's okay. So anyway, the way this works, is actually really intense. So if you are a 5th grade or 6th grade student in New York City who is at least half not white, then you can and you have really, really good scores on your standardized school-wide tests, or if your particularly helpful teacher says, oh, this person would be good for it, or your parents discover the program and really want to have you go for it. Oh, that was lag. That was some crazy lag. Anyway, if any of those things apply, you can then go and take a test. The test is actually designed for students who are older than 5th graders or 6th graders. It's more like 7th graders-ish in level. Reading and math, generally speaking, are the subjects involved. It looks like a standardized test, but it's harder. And if you do really, really well on those, you might get invited back. So that already, just purely on your scores, you know, and that test, weeds out a good amount of the students who even try. And then the second level screening is even more ridiculous. There's interviews with alums, there's And like while the interview, it'll be like 2 or 3 interviews at the offices in Manhattan, and obviously there will be multiple students and multiple interviewers, so there's a lot of downtime for the students, and while they're waiting they can we give them a little packet of, here's an essay to write where you can tell us, you know, how do you define success, or who is the biggest hero, you know, to you, who inspires you, or, you know, will the world be a better place or a worse place 50 years from now? Now again, we're asking 5th graders and 6th graders these questions and expecting fairly thoughtful, mature answers. There's also a little social studies-ish element, so we can see how they do at reading texts and, you know, getting useful information out of them. There's a short math portion as well, for which is actually mostly used if they do get in to place them in the correct math section more than anything, but it affects things too. If they can't answer any of the questions, that'd be a red flag. You know, lots of long division and many digit multiplication and word problems and fractions and things. So there's that, there's the interviews, there's a more in-depth one-on-one type IQ test, which can be retaken if we feel like, oh, you know, circumstances were bad at the testing center that day, oh, this particular IQ test giver has a bias, or, you know, whatever reasons. So there's the IQ test, there's that, there's the parents have to fill out a form basically saying, you know, does your kid really want to do this, or are you forcing them? What kind of values do you instill in your kids? Where do you see them when they grow up? Are you currently going back to school? What's your education like? Are you guys actually about to go through a divorce and you're not telling your kids because that could affect their psychological state a little much? You know, all sorts of questions of that nature. And we also ask for last year's tax forms and verification of the kids legally in the US. We'll accept kids working on becoming permanent residents on a case-by-case basis, but it's legally dicey to give them these opportunities if they're completely illegal in the country, or, you know, but generally speaking, pretty much everyone who does this program is a citizen of the US, or at least a permanent resident, and that works out pretty well. Anyway, so all of those things happen, and if the kid passes through all of this and their parents are willing, and, you know, they're not, I don't want to say too rich, because we have accepted some fairly well-off students in the past, but, you know, if they'll fit into our mission of helping students who otherwise wouldn't really been able to help themselves, and then, you know, then they'll get in. Anyway, the server's going to restart in a couple minutes, so I'm going to pause here, and now that we talked about admissions, we could talk about the actual process of what happens once they're in. So, see you back in a sec. And we're back. Okay. Sorry about that delay. The console did reset, and all should be well, other than this lag. Not sure where that's coming from. At any rate, yeah, so we, where was I? Oh yes, we finished with the application process, and now congratulations, you're one of the lucky 125, or 100 with the sister project, but I'm not even going to get started with that one. Students who happen to, you know, to get into this thing. So now what? It's the summer before 6th grade or 7th grade, and you're being shipped off to school. Yep, you are one of the smartest kids in your class, probably. One of the most dedicated, and you were going to summer school. Why? Because it's almost certain that your education so far is not quite going to be enough to work when you get to that other place. It's just the sad state of public education versus private education. You're probably a bit behind. So we have to teach you. We have to teach you more math so you're ready for algebra by the time you get there. We have to teach you how to read literature critically and thoughtfully. We have to teach you, more advanced techniques in writing, to analyze poetry, to understand the scientific method, including a full frog dissection in the first summer, and, all sorts of other really important things that you're going to need. So, how long are you in school? 14 months. Both summers full-time, and during the school year, twice a week, Wednesday evenings and Saturdays. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's not trivial in the slightest. You're also, socializing along the way. We understand you're a middle schooler, and this is probably quite possibly the first time in your life you've dealt with people around you who get you intellectually. Students who are also smart, who read in their spare time, who have significant interest and curiosity about the world around them. You're a special bunch. We let you socialize. There's a recreation period for things as varied as swimming and improv drama and man, what else was there? Those are the two I always took over anything else, but there's probably a dance thing, there's other sports, all sorts of options. There's a beach day in the middle of each summer. There's even a 4-day or so, less than a week, but still pretty long, trip we take you out to at the end of these crazy 14 months, out to a boarding school far out where you'll get to dance and, celebrate and feel some relief that you've gotten through all this craziness. And there are advisors who are generally alums of the program, an entire sort of social bonding unit of people of the same sex as you who, can help you go through the process together as friends and as a social group. And during the school year, while you're doing these weekend classes, you're also applying to these schools. Maybe you're taking some more standardized tests, like the independent school entrance examination. You're, filling out all these forms. You're talking to, you're visiting these schools. You're deciding what kind of place you want to be in. Do you want to be in a place that's co-ed with lots of sports opportunities and social opportunities? Do you want to be at a place with a really great art program? Do you want to be at a single-sex school? Do you want to be somewhere really small? Do you want to go to someplace really small and nurturing until 8th grade and then transfer to a larger high school? Or do you want to, go to someplace really academically competitive from the get-go? And, so there's so many options and so many choices, and prep helps their students figure out which one works for them. And then at the end of these 14 months, all this craziness, all this lost sleep over the first time you've had real homework that you've had to think about, you know, all of that stuff, you are finally done. And you get to, you know, go to this new school, go to this new place and this new opportunity with all of its crazy, you know, new people to interact with and a new world to deal with. People who have never dealt with someone from your race before, of your class, you know, of your social class. People who don't know how to, just people who don't know, who come from a very different place than you. And so, you're still getting counseling occasionally from prep. Nowadays, probably emailing regularly with your advisor. Before it was like once a semester-ish, regular meetings. You're got a nice amount of birch. I think I'll convert all of this to planks. There we go. And these are reversed. Why are these reversed? I'm disappointed in myself. Let me dump this too, and this. Let's see if the other leaves have despawned by now. Anyway, you're still getting support. You've got someone you can go to for counseling regularly who is outside your school if you need it. You can request tutoring from us. You can, and every summer there's other opportunities you can do. You can go to summer camp, partially funded by us. You can go to other, you know, various opportunities as they come along, and especially in high school. At the high school level, it becomes like internships and doing stuff like a month-long program with the National Foundation for Teaching Entrepreneurs about what entrepreneurship is, and writing your own business plans in like 9th grade. It could be spending your summer interviewing various public policy leaders and talking about leadership and politics and governance. It can be, you know, interning for a law firm or a media group or whatever. It could be a lot of things, but we could be studying abroad for a summer. Just all sorts of resources and opportunities, and at the high school level, occasionally during like spring break or winter break or over the summer, or you know, some long weekends, you might have the chance to meet up with your old prep friends again and do a program we call Aspects of Leadership, which is all about, well, leadership and how a person can become a leader and what that is and what that looks like. So all of those are cool things, all of those are important things, certainly, and it really develops a person from someone with a lot of potential into someone with the resources it takes to become something really extraordinary. So yeah, I was in this program growing up for a long time, actually. I was, I mean, I've told you guys I'm 24 now. You could probably guess roughly when I was there, but not all of the decisions I made in it were great. I have to admit, you know, I chose a school that was probably too competitive and not nurturing enough and too traditional for what I really am, but I stuck with it. Certainly my times with other prep students were still a highlight. despite everything. Let's go out and kill some monsters just cause. And I made some great friends along the way, I've made some great opportunities along the way, and I'm still working them now. When I came back to New York, I ended up working at the office, which is why I keep using we as the pronoun instead of they, because I feel like I'm part of the program even now in the small sort of administrative role I'm in now. But yeah, it's really life-changing for the students who are in it, and a lot of the people who are involved in it go on to become really amazing, just really leaders of their communities, give back a lot, and really work really hard to decrease world suck by creating people who decrease world suck, which I think is a great way to go about it. And I think that prep and communities like prep have helped a lot in an implicit way with how people nowadays understand race and diversity. Not everyone who is awesome and not white comes from prep, obviously. They're not even all from New York City. But having, those people around just convinces people, hey, maybe it's not so weird that, a Latina wants to become a justice of the Supreme Court. Maybe it's, not so weird that people are, that a black man wants to be president. Maybe it's not, something we should be shunning, but something we should be celebrating, that there are people who look different from us and have different views and different values. So, yeah, that's really my big thing about prep, what it is and why it is. I think it's... Ooh, did I get a bar of iron from it? Sweet. And yeah, I love the organization. I am really grateful to it for so much. And yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about that. Maybe the next time I'll talk about my vacation, stuff that's happened and whatnot. And yeah, I'm gonna call it for now. So, thanks so much for watching. And I will see you next time.